Hi, Max. I am in my 50s. I have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. And my business was coaching and mentoring people through personal crisis. My knowledge of that is partly from myself, because I was widowed 11 and a half years ago, and I understand a lot about how people feel when they are going through a very bad time. When I was born, I was adopted at 12 days old. And I've been told many, many times that I've got very exotic looks that don't really look very English. But I've never had any desire to find out my background. But I suspect there must be something somewhere that is not truly English or British. It was wonderful. My parents were just amazing. I mean, my mother couldn't have loved anybody more than she did my sister and myself. And my father, all he wanted all his life was daughters. And he was surrounded by women. He had his wife, who he adored for 72 years of marriage and knowing her. And then he had these two daughters. And for him, he was in heaven. So I got married very young. I was 19 when I got married. Much to my parents' distress, because they did not want me to marry the man I married, because they knew he would not be good for me. And one daughter later, I realised that too, and that was the end of our marriage. And I was 3 years later, almost 3 years later, I met the man of my life, the love of my life. And we had 3 children between us. He had 2, I had 1. From day one, I realised that not only had I married Keith, I had taken on a family. He was a package. And his package was him and Joanna, who was 6, and Matthew, who was 4. Just as I was a package that he'd taken on, where I was Lindsay, but I also had Carla, who was nearly 4. I just realised that I had to love these children. If I loved this man, I had to love his children. And that if he loved me, he had to love my daughter.
Yeah.
There were times when it was difficult. People used to say to me, "How do you manage looking after children that aren't yours?" And I said, "But they are mine." I hope I created a similar sort of home for my kids as my parents had for me. I think that happens to a lot of people with stepchildren, is that when you get together, you never have that time when you have no children. You never have time just being a couple. You are a family from day one. And so I think what happened over the years as the children began to grow up and leave home, go to college, or leave home, we found time, our time for Keith and I. My interest in life was travelling, and particularly to India. For my 40th birthday, he took me to India for my birthday present. And the moment I arrived, I knew I was where I wanted to be. and for me. But it was when Keith died, because I was then on my own. India, when you arrive at the airports, there are thousands of people. The school was 2 rooms and no teachers.